Hello and assalamu alaikum everyone. In today's lecture we're going to talk about how we can use cost for different purposes. So without further ado, let's begin. Calculating cost accurately can help managers to make a number of important decisions, which we're going to talk about now. First of all, of course, cost for calculating profitability. By combining cost information with expected revenues, managers can calculate whether or not a business is likely to make a profit or a loss. From this information, a range of other decisions may follow, such as whether or not to start a new business, go with planned expansion, to take a special order, or there is need for reducing wastage. So if you know your cost, then you can easily calculate your profits as well. So the formula for calculating profit or loss, if it's profit, it was going to be positive. If it's negative, then that's a loss. So that is total revenue less total costs. So if you know your total cost, how much cost the business has incurred, and you know your revenue as well, then using that information you can calculate the profitability, and using the profitability you can make a wide number of decisions. Cost can also be used for pricing decisions. So cost data is also of great importance to other departments such as marketing. Marketing managers will use cost data to help inform their pricing decisions. It is generally used for cost-based pricing methods such as markup pricing and full cost pricing. So if you know how much cost the business is incurring, then using that you can set up the price as well. So let's say the cost that you are incurring is, the cost will be, let's say, $5 per unit, okay, and you want a 50% return. So the price that you will set up is going to be 50% extra, right? Using the, let's say, use the cost based pricing methods, right? One of them is that, yes. So 50% added to 50%, 150% will be like, so you want 50% return from this. So you're not going to sell it for $5. You want 50% return. So 50% of $5 is 2.5. You want 2.5 as your profit per unit. So $5 plus 2.5. That's the whole idea behind this. So it's going to be $7.5. That's the price that you will charge. So if you know your cost, you can also set up your prices. It is one of the most common methods for deciding pricing decisions, unless you are using other pricing methods like competition based pricing or price skimming, price penetration, etc. Target setting. Past cost data can help to set budgets for the future. These will act as targets to work towards for the department concerned. Actual cost levels can then be compared with budgets. Budgets can be used to monitor how well costs are controlled, but also to calculate profits and to compare these with targets. So target setting is also very important to measure how the business is performing and what should be their goal now, what was their past, how much cost did the business incurred in year one, how much cost, and they, using that information, they set up a limit. Okay, in the next year I don't want to incur more than this particular cost, and they see how much cost that they have incurred at the end of that year to compare how much the profit, how much the budgets they have used, and that helps the business to determine the efficiency, etc. Now, cost for monitoring and improving performance, that's just related to the previous point, but more in detail. The previous point was more about generally that it is used to set up the target, and now it's about more about how you measure the target. So different types of cost information can be used to monitor and improve performance, such as direct, indirect, fixed, variable, and marginal cost data, all of which we have discussed previously. This information will allow business to consider factors such as the cost effectiveness of operations, how much cost the business is incurring, is it effective, or like there could have been some other method as well. Is it effective, like is it incurring too much cost compared to the profit that the business is making? So stuff like that, how much effective, the cost effectiveness of operations, that is. Then we have the opportunity cost of certain activities. So if you are purchasing more inventories, then what's the opportunity cost of that? Okay, you have already have the cost, but like what's the opportunity cost? Or like if you decide on reducing your cost by lowering your inventories, by having keeping low levels of inventories, so what's the opportunity cost of that? We already discussed that in unit 4 chapter 3, that it's like you might not, you might run out of your sales, and there will be customer dissatisfaction, etc. So that is your opportunity cost. The need for cost reduction initiatives. So if you know about your costs, you can monitor them, and then you also know that if there is a need for more cost reduction initiatives, if you are incurring too much cost. The trends and cost level can also be monitored. Okay, how much, what are the trends, is it increasing or decreasing, and what could be done to maintain the cost. And benchmarking with competitor or industry level costs. So if you know how much the costs of your competitors incurring, then you can also benchmark your own cost, that okay, we don't want to exceed the cost that our competitor or the industry level cost is incurring. So business could compare current cost data with that of previous years and could determine whether the business performance has improved or not. So this sort of comparison, where you compare your own comparison with that of your previous year comparison. Okay, how much well did I perform as compared to the last year or two last years, two consecutive years. So that's your intra-firm comparison. And when you compare with your competitors, that's your inter-firm comparison. So decisions could be taken to look for new suppliers or negotiate with existing ones if the cost for raw materials has increased significantly. So if you can identify using cost data that okay, your cost has increased, then you can make certain decisions to reduce that cost. Cost information relating to pricing, budgets, targets, profitability, and competitors is essential for managers. Reviewing cost information allows a business to ask vital questions such as, so if you have cost information, you can review that and you can ask yourself certain questions, the answers of which will help you make a better decision, better decisions. Is the business keeping close enough eye on its direct costs, on overheads? So they will see, okay, overheads, we already know that what are overheads. Overheads, your indirect costs. So is it keeping close enough eye? Are they increasing and the business could not notice that? How should they decrease the overheads? So stuff like that. Then how could the business lower its costs? When we say lower its costs, it's not just about overheads, it's about all other costs as well, your direct, indirect, your variable and fixed costs as well. Maybe you can just shift to some other factory to have a lower fixed cost, or perhaps reduce your inventory levels, or ask for change to different suppliers. So there are all sorts of different methods that the business could use. Will the business be able to negotiate better deals with suppliers? So that's one of the methods as well, that will they be able to better have negotiate better deals, like can they have suppliers for reduce cost, like okay, I'll buy more amount, so please can you give me more discount as well. So overall your unit cost could be reduced, so, and hence like your cost overall will be reduced. So they might, all these three questions are very important for business. So if they review the cost information, they can ask themselves these three questions, and depending on the answer they can decide, okay, where the business is going, what should be done now. Cost information may suggest the need for different production methods, so such as batch to flow or pricing strategies comparative to markup. So if you can review your cost information, not only will you make decisions on how to reduce costs, you can also change your production methods or pricing strategies, so that you can use the cost, you can minimize the cost or maximize the profit. So changing batch to flow, there will be some costs involved, but in the long run you will be able to produce more units and hence have more sales revenue. Or changing pricing strategies from competitive to markup. So maybe competitive pricing you are not able to charge one, but if you charge a markup pricing, then you can know, okay, whatever the cost I'm increasing, I'll get 40% extra in return. I want 40% extra in return. So depending on that, just like we saw in the example earlier, that if the product was $5, then we wanted 50% return. So that's why we charge $7.5 to customers. So similarly, you can just shift to markup from competitive to reduce your costs, or not just reduce your costs basically, but like increase your profits. Future strategies can also be formulated using cost data. A business may be able to reduce its costs following such an analysis. So if it is placing larger orders with other businesses for its suppliers, it may be able to negotiate larger discounts for bulk orders. Alternatively, if it is not using all of its suppliers, it may reduce the size of its orders and its costs. This is vital if suppliers are perishable. So if you're not using the supplies, all of your supplies, then they should reduce the size of orders, and hence you will reduce the cost as well. And that's very important for perishable goods. So if you are dealing with perishable goods like fruits, etc., that may expire after some time, then you will want not very large quantity of orders. You will want small quantities of orders, small size. So if you order small size, that means your cost will be reduced. That's one of the orders. Or otherwise, you can just order larger. You can place large quantity orders where you will have more cost, but the unit cost will be reduced because of the bulk order and larger discounts as well. So these are different ideas that the business could use, that depending on how much cost that the business has occurred, they can review. After reviewing all the cost information, future strategies can be formulated. So that's all for today. Thanks for watching, and Allah Hafiz.